Das.
Moksha Rupi.
Das, yes, Moksha.
Yes, Moksha Rupi Prabhu. Welcome.
Thank you. What is your name?
My name is Kripa Sindhu Das. I'm honored today to speak on Bhagavad Gita. Before we're doing so, we start with a small reading from this book called A Transcendental Diary from Prabhu, to get a glimpse into the life of personalities who lived with Srila Prabhupada personally. Whimsically opened chapter 4, Bombay, December 16, 1975. Delhi airport was filled with its usual bustle, and while Hamsadutta and Harikesha dealt with the baggage and other formalities, Srila Prabhupada sat calmly in the boarding area. As he waited, a friendly Bengali gentleman, Mr. M.N. Chaudhuri, talked with him for some time. It pleased Prabhupada to discover that the man worked in the West Bengal Department of Development and Planning. Mr. Chaudhuri spoke enthusiastically and appreciatively about Srila Prabhupada's worldwide missionary work. He offered to help in any way he could. So Prabhupada wrote down his name and address. At 6 o'clock the party, along with the PhD candidate, flew out. I booked myself on the next flight out at 10 a.m. I had a little money saved, just enough for the fare, and by midday I too was in Bombay. Hare Krishna Land, Juhu Beach, Bombay. You've been there?
No, I don't need to Bombay. Most of the east,
Okay.
or south.
Okay. Hare Krishna Land at Juhu Beach is only about a half an hour drive from the airport. 6 rupees by taxi. The site is very impressive. Situated in the heart of exclusive Juhu, only a minute from the beach. It covers more than 4 acres with half a dozen 3-story apartment buildings, spaciously dotted among the many swaying palm trees. It surprised me to find that the temple at the front of the land is merely a simple shelter, a small brick deity room and a darshan area barely large enough to hold 50 people. It is completely open on 3 sides, covered with a flimsy tin roof balanced on thin iron poles. Nevertheless, the worshipable deities, Shri Shri Radha Rasa Bihari, are beautifully dressed and meticulously cared for, despite the inadequate facilities. I am surprised to discover that non-devotees occupy many apartments on our property, several of them even meat-eaters. When Srila Prabhupada obtained the land, 6 occupied buildings were already there, and according to Indian law, the tenancies can't be terminated. Devotees are gradually using those few flats vacated by former tenants. Srila Prabhupada has arranged to have the 3rd floor built on top of each building to provide living quarters for his disciples. That work has just been completed and the foundation is now being laid for the new temple complex. Some used material left over from the Vrindavan temple construction have been trucked in. A devotee directed me to Srila Prabhupada's quarters in a building at the back of the land. After climbing several flights of steep steps to the top floor, I entered the open reciprocation room door. At the same moment, His Divine Grace entered from the other side. He had just taken his massage. "Oh, so you are here," he said in mild surprise, as I offered my obeisances. "All right, very good," he remarked, disappearing into the bathroom. Nitai appeared next. He had just given Prabhupada his massage. "Oh, you are here? Okay, I don't mind. I'd rather develop the Gurukula in Vrindavan anyway." Then Harikesha came in, also surprised to see me. I found out later that when my ticket was handed over to Mr. Singh Everyone had considered my tenure with the party at an end. They assumed that Nitai would rejoin the party as Prabhupada's servant. Apparently, I was the only one who had not realized it. But Prabhupada was pleased that I came. He sent me to find Giriraj, the temple president, and instructed him to repay me the full cost of my airfare. He advised me that I should keep my own money for emergency uses. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It's very, very nice to hear this point that Prabhupada, through Prabhupada's mercy, Sri Radha Krishna, exactly the name here is Sri Radha Rasa Bihari, were already worshipped, and even this described it, dressed meticulously and meticulously cared for, beautifully dressed. We can imagine how Sri Radha Krishna dressed in silken, beautiful garments with golden and silver jewels, and especially the flowers. Krishna wearing a flower behind his ear. How they were worshipped beautifully and nicely in sweetness. And but before this information, we get the information in what kind of facilities they were worshipped. That is quite amazing and astonishing. That shows us the purity of Srila Prabhupada. That Srila Prabhupada brings Sri Radha Krishna and be worshipped by the devotees. And as Prabhupada mentions, that when he started the temple, and many times he had difficulties to maintain or to actually get the temples, the buildings, the land, whatever, from the so-called owner, because they were of demoniac nature. But Prabhupada was in such a fighting mood when Krishna was there, he said, now I invited Krishna, Krishna already came, and he's already accepting the worship. So how can we say now to Krishna, sorry, we don't get the land, we don't get the building, we have to move, that is not possible. That was not possible for Prabhupada to think about. Once when Krishna was there was no question, we have to get this land, we have to get the building under all circumstances. And Prabhupada was fighting and fighting. And it is very inspiring to hear. And very soon we are here. We are celebrating a festival and a happening which is combined to this fact, because soon we are getting prepared now for the days of celebrating Krishna's appearance day, birthday, Krishna Janmashtami, Ki Jai. And when we hear in the Bhagavad and how Prabhupada is talking about, writing about Krishna's appearance in the womb of Devaki, and when Krishna finally appeared, Devaki, of course Krishna, he appeared, the Lord appeared in his original form as in four-headed form as Vishnu, and he was very beautifully decorated with also silken garments, beautiful yellowish garments, dhoti, and shining helmet and necklace, and decorated with the very auspicious and beautiful Kaustuba jewel, which is only to be found in Vaikuntha. And the Prabhupada describes that there's different colors, that the Kaustuba exists in blue, or in red, or in yellow, as far as I remember. And then there's this only there in Vaikuntha, and the helmet and the necklace of the Vishnu was decorated with this Kaustuba jewel. And then very beautifully, the Supreme Lord was standing in front of Devaki, and Nanda Maharaj, he was also astonished. He was astonished because of several reasons. First of all, that the Lord appeared from the womb of Devaki in this form as Vishnu, with four hands. That was the first thing. The second thing is that that was one of the reasons that he did that, and that he did not hide himself in any way. They were in this place of Kamsa, this prison, that he just did it there, at this very uncommon place, to appear in this original form. So there are many more reasons why. Vasudeva, he was very astonished and amazed, and Devaki, she had the fear, she was afraid, very much afraid, because of Kamsa, that he would come and he would kill the so-called child. He said he would kill the child, or harm him. Therefore she was praying in fear, she was afraid. Please, my dear, please, Krishna, please Lord, please hide yourself, please make yourself invisible, please appear in a form as a child, as a human child, because otherwise Kamsa may come, he may see you and he may attack you. So she was very afraid of this, and Vasudeva, he had the plan then to immediately hide the child somewhere there. We see the second time in Vasudeva this attitude that no matter what the circumstances are, just let's go for it. Let's go for the right attitude. The first time he showed this attitude, it was when Kamsa heard that the 8th child of his sister would kill him, and then he wanted to even kill Devaki, his sister. He took her hair and the sword, and the situation was like this, it looks like Kamsa wanted to kill Devaki. And Vasudeva, he talked to Kamsa. He told him, "My dear Kamsa, please don't do it. I promise to you, I will give you the child that will be born from Devaki. You will not have fear to be killed." And the Kamsa's motive was that let's first of all save Devaki. Let's first of all save her, and then let's see what will come. But the first important thing is to save her and to promise this to Kamsa. And Kamsa was sure that Vasudeva will hold his promise. He will stand to his promise, to his word. Why? Because Vasudeva was such a pure Vaishnava, a great devotee. And even demons, when they are in contact with great Vaishnavas, they experience this character, or this character of a devotee of pureness, and that they do not lie. When a devotee says something, and even if he promises something, even a demon, he understands he is saying the truth. He will do what he says. Such as he is a pure devotee. So that was the position of Vasudeva. And no matter what will happen in the future, just now let's try everything to save Devaki under these circumstances. He tried everything, so he did that, and then there in the prison, Krishna, he even had the idea to hide him somewhere there in this I don't know what it must have been, one room. Or somewhere hide Krishna there. We have to hide Krishna there, no matter where, but we have to hide him somewhere that nothing happens to him. So just do everything. So Vasudeva and Devaki were in this way very anxious to save Krishna, and it is actually fear. This fear also Prabhupada, he says that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, Krishna has now appeared in form of this movement of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and sometimes we are also afraid of the demons who are attacking us, and we sometimes fear even that they can do harm to this movement, Prabhupada says. But of course we understand, at the next moment Prabhupada says, of course we understand, Kamsa cannot kill Krishna. Similarly, the demons of this, even of the Kali Yuga, they cannot stop this movement. They cannot do any harm to this movement. But still, like Devaki was afraid, also Prabhupada shows like he's concerned about his movement and he's afraid that something could happen. So, and similarly, he was fighting, and we see here Krishna already has been there, and under such circumstances, Prabhupada will do everything to fight, that to get this property and make the temple very beautifully for Krishna. And there is no question of Krishna cannot be removed or something, that he is already there, we have to take care of him very nicely. So that is the determination of a pure devotee, Prabhupada showed in his pastimes. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we already had a small introduction to our festival which is coming. Now we are going to read from Bhagavad Gita, and the verse of today is 8th chapter, verse number 2. The 8th chapter is called, do you know what is the 8th chapter called? Attaining the Supreme Child. Attaining the Supreme. Let's start with chanting the auspicious mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Adhyakya katam kotra desmin madhusudana prayana kalicha katam gyeyosi niyatatmapi. Please repeat. Abhiyakya. Sorry, excuse me. Adhyakya. The Lord of Sacrifice. Katam. How. Kaha. Who. Atra. Here. Dehe. In the body. Asmin. This. Madhusudana. Oh Madhusudana. Prayana Kale. At the time of death. Cha. And. Katam. How. Yeya Asi. You can be known. Niyata Atmapihi. By the self-controlled. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, Abhijala Naravina Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Who is the Lord of Sacrifice, and how does He live in the body? O Madhusudana. And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Purport. Lord of Sacrifice may refer to either Indra or Vishnu. Vishnu is the chief of the primal demigods, including Brahma and Shiva, and Indra is the chief of the administrative demigods. Both Indra and Vishnu are worshipped by yajna performances. But here Arjuna asks who is actually the Lord of yajna, sacrifice, and how the Lord is residing within the body of the living entity. Arjuna addresses the Lord as Madhusudana because Krishna once killed a demon named Madhu. Actually, these questions, which are of the nature of doubts, should not have arisen in the mind of Arjuna, because Arjuna is a Krishna-conscious devotee. Therefore, these doubts are like demons. Since Krishna is so expert in killing demons, Arjuna here addresses him as Madhusudana, so that Krishna might kill the demonic doubts that arise in Arjuna's mind. Now the word prayana kale in this verse is very significant, because whatever we do in life will be tested at the time of death. Arjuna is very anxious to know of those who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness. What should be their position at the final moment? At the time of death, all the bodily functions are disrupted, and the mind is not in a proper condition. Thus, disturbed by the bodily situation, one may not be able to remember the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Kulashekara, a great devotee, prays, "My dear Lord, just now I am quite healthy, and it is better that I die immediately, so that the swan of my mind can seek entrance at the stem of your lotus feet." The metaphor is used because the swan, a bird of the water, takes pleasure in digging into the lotus flowers. Its sporting proclivity is to enter the lotus flower. Maharaj Kulashekara says to the Lord, "Now my mind is undisturbed, and I am quite healthy. If I die immediately, thinking of your lotus feet, then I am sure that my performance of your devotional service will become perfect. But if I have to wait for my natural death, then I do not know what will happen, because at that time the bodily functions will be disrupted. My throat will be choked up, and I do not know whether I shall be able to chant your name. Better let me die immediately. Arjuna questions how a person can fix his mind on Krishna's lotus feet at such a time. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyanachana Shalakaya Chakshuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vacharantam Gurnagayati Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanandamadhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadadi Svabadamikam Vairagya Bhukti Rasam Prayatnai Apayamamana Pipsum Antam Kripam Bhutya Paradukha Dukhi Sanatanastvam Prabhum Ashrayame Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Adyakya katam kotra desmi matusudana prayana kalija katam gyayosmi yatatmapi. Who is the Lord of sacrifice? And how does he live in the body, O Matusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? It's every time for me very exciting to hear Arjuna's questions, because when I read these questions that Arjuna is asking, I become very interested in what will Krishna answer. And this is one of the most important questions that refers also to our life. And Arjuna asks it because he is in anxiety for the devotees. It is stated here. Arjuna is very anxious to know of those who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness. So Arjuna asked this question in favor of us, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions one very important personality, King, you remember his name? King Kulashikara. And he wrote his famous shlokas, from which one is cited here, quoted here. This is Krishna Tvadiya Parapankaja Pancharantam. Krishna Tvadiya Parapankaja Pancharantam. Krishna Tvadiya Parapankaja Pancharantam. Adyaiva Meghi Satumana Suracha Hamsa Prana Prayana Samaye Kapavata Pitai Kantavarotana Vito Smaranam Kutaste. Hamsa, he says, that please my mind, let my mind like a swan become entangled in your lotus feet. At that time, when it will be very difficult for me to remember you at the time of death, when I will not be able to chant the name because my throat is choked up with all disgusting things. Therefore, please, I pray to you. I pray to you now when I'm healthy. I pray to you, and even in the state here, even now while I'm able to pray and think of your lotus feet, please let me die now. It is better to die now when I can think of you, because at the time of death it may be very, very difficult. So also, please at the time of death, let me also, when it is very difficult, at that time, let me please think of your lotus feet. He prays. It's a very important prayer for us. And last time in the Bhagavad Gita we were looking for another name which also starts with the letter K. And this personality refers also to the fact how important it is to, even just shortly before the time of death, surrender unto Krishna and become a devotee. But even if you do it shortly before you die, you can reach the perfection of life. such a powerful process is Krishna consciousness. Do you have any clue what is his name? The name of this personality who just shortly before his death surrendered unto Krishna. He became he surrendered to Krishna and reached the perfection. It is the king, I don't know whether it was king, Katvanga. There's these two personalities. Kulashikara with this prayer, and Katvanga, who showed it practically just a few moments before death, he surrendered to Krishna. And as the Lord promises that surrender unto me, and I shall free you from all sinful activities. Do not fear. It is not a matter of time. It is not a matter of age. There is this very famous interview with Srila Prabhupada that is also filmed, where a devotee asks Srila Prabhupada, many lifetimes we have collected so many sinful activities, unimaginable. And this person, when he asks this question, you can understand, he speaks of some real honesty. He really thinks about, wow, I have lived many lives. What have I done in all these lives? How did I live? What is all on my karma account? How many sinful activities? So Prabhupada, how long does it take to surrender to Krishna so that we become free from these sinful activities? That is his question. Srila Prabhupada listens, and not even until immediately after the question was finished, Prabhupada says, one moment, he says. Don't you read Bhagavad Gita? What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharam Harityaja Mavikam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tam Sarvabhaviko Moksha Sharanashujaha. Surrender unto me, give up all other activities, all other religion. I promise to you, I will free you from all sinful activities. Do not fear. Krishna promises. So, there are many great personalities who achieved it, who did it. We do not only hear about the process, which is amazingly powerful. We hear about personalities like Katvanga, who did it a few moments before death and reached the perfection of life. They made their life successful. And we also hear of other personalities who did it. And this is what Krishna also in the Bhagavad Gita states. Vita raga vaya krodha manmaya mam upashrita bahavo jnana tapasa gunar madbhava agataha. Madbhava means pure love for Krishna. That is what Krishna wants from us. Pure love. And that is what we really want. To achieve perfection. Achieving perfection means attaining complete pure love for Godhead, for Krishna. Love Krishna, to pure love for Krishna, that is everything we need. All we need is love. Not in brackets, Krishna. Judge Harrison says. That is a fact. We only need pure love for Krishna. And this Madhbhava, Krishna says about it, this pure love to me, in the past, through Bhava Jnana, through transcendental knowledge about me, Bhava, many persons who became Vita, free from Raga, attachment, from Krodha, anger, and Bhaya, fear. Many such persons have that achieved already. Krishna is confirming us. So what Krishna explains to us here in Bhagavad Gita, this has been attained by many personalities already. So why should it not be possible for us? It is also possible for us to attain this highest goal of life. And we are told these prayers Srila Prabhupada, he gives us these prayers only for one reason why, in order to be able to follow such great personalities, to repeat these prayers. So this is one of the prayers. If there are a few prayers which are really important, we should know during our healthy condition in this life, then this, I would say, belongs amongst them. This prayer where we pray that at the time of death, now when I'm healthy, let me pray, please Krishna. When at the time of death, when it is very difficult for me to think of you, and when my condition is very troublesome, it might be very troublesome, at that time, please let me think of you. Let me think of you. Let me think of you at the time of death. And please force yourself into my mind. Please let my mind be a swan, becoming entangled in the stems, the stems of your lotus feet. And what swans are doing, they are playing so intensely with the lotus flowers. I don't know whether you have heard it already, but swans, they play in such a way with the stems of lotus flowers that they even they really get entangled. So in such a way that they die. They play with the lotus stems, and they said they cannot escape anymore. They quit the body there. So literally meant this would be the perfection, of course, to give up your body in such a condition where you are completely entangled in thoughts and remembrance only of Krishna. And as the Sri Upanishad states, please, everything I have done for you, all the sacrifices that count now, please accept it. Accept everything I have done for you. Please let me remember everything I have done for you. Let me remember the ecstatic moments I was allowed to have in my Krishna conscious life, no matter where it was, no matter under what circumstances. Please let me remember these things. And let me forget, and let these things, let this ecstasy in Krishna consciousness replace this attachment, raga, to material things. Raga, attachment, we have to overcome it. How can we overcome it? By getting something better. So Krishna, everything which is connected with Krishna, all ecstasy in Krishna consciousness, every experience in our Krishna conscious life, every personal exchange and realization we have with Krishna, that is these are the real jewel-like moments in our life. So let these moments count and let us remember of these things. And when we are healthy now, we shall do one thing. We shall strive for these moments. To that degree that you surrender unto me, to that degree I reward. Or in other stages, somewhere else it is said to that degree I reveal myself. I reward or I reveal myself. So to that degree, what does it mean? Let me give everything. As long as I'm healthy, let me pray that at the time of death I can remember, but let me also give everything. Everything which I can for the service to you, so that you might be pleased with me, and that you may like to accept the offering which I tried to give to you. And this, let me give everything to become pure, to become purified, so that I one day might become qualified to live in your association with Krishna. Like this should be our prayer, this should be our thought, it should be our aim, our goal, and nothing else. Making Krishna the center of everything in our life. And trust in Krishna, having faith in Krishna, that He will take care of our necessities and of our needs. And but at the same time, fight in such a way as if it would be depending on us. Everything is already arranged by Krishna. And who will die on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? It is already arranged. But Arjuna is not meant to say, oh, cool, that will happen anyway. Haribol, easygoing. No, he's not saying easygoing. He says quite a difficult thing. Like Vasudeva, just imagine yourself in that situation. Did he give up? Did he think, oh, then impossible? Did Vasudeva think impossible? He did not think impossible. He did everything. When Prabhupada was in this situation, when Krishna was there, did he think impossible to get this land from these demons? No. He said, let's fight. We have to fight for Krishna. But at the same time, understanding that the real controller, that is Krishna. We do everything as if it would depend on us. That is also nicely described in this part of the Bhagavatam, of the appearance of Krishna in the 10th canto. There's especially one purport, the whole purport where Prabhupada gives this direct meaning. That everything is under the control of Krishna, and it is everything already decided, and everything is already arranged. But a devotee, he should live in such a way as if it would depend on him. He should work that hard and strive that hard and give everything as if it would depend on him. That is what the Arjuna is meant to do. And that, to that degree that you surrender unto me, you try hard to that will me. So let us use this life that we have, this valuable life as human beings, to go for this more and more. Krishna, to please Krishna more and more, to serve Krishna more and more by serving his devotee, because more dear to serve Krishna directly to Krishna is when we serve his devotees. When we serve his devotees, that they can serve Krishna. This is the attitude in the spiritual world. This is the difference. Today we talked about Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. When Krishna appeared, he appeared with his sister Subhadra, Yoga Maya. And what is the difference between Yoga Maya and Mahamaya? The difference is that Mahamaya, she is active in the spiritual world, in Vaikunta, in the pastimes of Krishna. And Mahamaya is, under the influence of Mahamaya, are those souls in the material world, under the bodily conception of life, forgetting Krishna. So spiritual life means to do everything that Krishna may be happy. And if Krishna makes it happy that I serve him that in that way, then I shall do that. And if it makes him happy that I serve this devotee so that he can serve in such a nice way, then I can do that. And this is the nice attitude in the spiritual world, that everyone serves each other. Not because of a false motive, that someday he will get something from it. This is material world. And it is very frustrating in the material world to serve, therefore, because there is this motive, I will get something from it. But the motive to serve another person in the spiritual world is simply to please Krishna. We serve each other to please Krishna. This pleases Krishna. We serve another devotee because this service that another devotee gives to Krishna, that pleases Krishna. And this we want to please Krishna. And that is really such a pure motive, and this is the strength of this. This is the strength of this movement. This is the strength of this preaching movement, of this preaching mood, that we are helping others and doing something for others, not because of a false motive, but because of our self-interest. By serving others, we are actually active for our own self-interest, purely, because it does good to us. It does so good to us to help others, to serve others. This is not understandable from the material point of view. And we can experience this practically, because when we are going on the street and approaching people in that way. And this is how we should approach people. When we're going on the street, we are doing nothing else than this. We are helping these people so that they can come to Krishna. We are approaching people on the street because we want to bring them to Krishna. And this is what Krishna likes and what makes us dear to Krishna. This is how we can show that we really are anxious for Krishna's pleasure, and that we are not pleasure or love. These are words. They do not describe what we are meaning. We are talking about bhakti. That is something so intense and so shining in the heart of a devotee like the sun. You know? And it is so pure, like the sun is so pure that wherever it shines, from every dirty place, it makes liquids, evaporate. Even urine. Sun is so pure, it even evaporates urine from a dirty place. And what to speak of beautiful, nice water. So that is the sun. So this motive is so pure and shining, devotee shining. This pure motive is shining in the devotee's heart. But from a materialistic point of view, it is not understandable. How one can be in such a way selfless and pure. And this is what the people are saying on the street. Can you explain to me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? I can't understand. What is the motive behind it? Like this time, when I was on the street, I met one person, and I showed him the Bhagavad Gita. And the people, they are surprised, obviously. They said, why are you doing this? You know, like, I cannot understand what's going on with you. You know, like, what's wrong with you? What's up with you? On what kind of trip are you? You know, like this. And this person, he saw the Bhagavad Gita and immediately asked me, is it Buddhism? And every time when people are asking this question, I every time say, it's much older. It's the root of Buddhism. Like in the mood of, it's much better. Even better, a lot better. And I told him, it is the root. And then again he would ask me, so, but tell me, is it about Buddhism? And I didn't want to go into the topic about Buddhism, because you don't know. If you say yes, then the people may say, oh no, I don't like Buddhism, therefore I don't want it, you know. So therefore you don't say yes, it is Buddhism, because you want to avoid it, and therefore you say, it is the root, it's even better. You know, that means it's not Buddhism, but if you like Buddhism, it's also for you. You know what I mean? So therefore, you don't say yes, no. But then it turned out he likes Buddhism very much. He likes it very much, and I told him, oh yeah, it's the root. And then he said, and he couldn't understand the root. Like, what do you mean with the root? Then he told me, Buddhism is in Buddha Siddhartha. He appeared 500 years before Christ. 2,500 years ago. And I could immediately see what is going on in his mind. In his mind is going on that there exists nothing earlier. You know, like this. This is like, it's even 500 years before Jesus Christ. I mean, what can be older than this? So he was like this, and then I told him, yeah, it's the root. It's even older than this. He said, even older than this? What do you mean? Well, it is described in the 4th chapter. And you can tell them, this is in this 4th chapter, Prabhupada explains very nicely the history of the Bhagavad Gita, and if you want to know it exactly, it was written down 5,000 years ago. And when I told him this, it was written down 5,000 years ago, it was like, what are you telling me? This is out of my understanding of the world. How can something be written down 5,000 years ago? What do you talk about? Anyway, but I told you, it is the root of Buddhism, it's much older, that's what I said. Anyway, he likes Buddhism, and on the back of the book he read Hermann Hesse, and therefore, of course, he took it. And then, because he was nice, I gave him also the biography of Prabhupada, because this fits very nicely, and because he gave a nice donation, then I also gave him the Krishna book. And then he wrote, and then he looked at the book, and he read Krishna, and then he said, this is Hinduism. What's going on with you? You know, that was even far beyond. First of all, he's into Buddhism, and I said it's much older, and then I give him something about Hinduism. But anyway, you know, he took it anyway. He took it. but he couldn't at all understand what is going on here. It was completely out of his range, out of his scope, out of his world understanding. Older than 2,500 years, much older than Buddhism, and even also Krishna, Hinduism. What can this be? What are you doing? What are you living here? What kind of tradition is this? Something very special. Something very much bigger and greater than I think about. And that is, this is Krishna consciousness. It is out of our scope. It is out of what we can think about. Bhakti is out of our understanding. It is much more than love. It's such a pure-hearted motive to act out of service attitude towards us. I want to serve. I want to serve. Why do I want to serve? To please Krishna. Please, Krishna, be pleased with me. And we understand that we are not qualified to serve Krishna. Because Krishna is the purest personality, he is the supreme, he is no one else than God. Krishna is God. So how close and near can you come to God? He's like, he's surrounded by his dear devotees like the king. He has his dear associates. So how close can you come to the king as a normal person? And how close can we come to Krishna? So we understand we are not qualified to serve Krishna directly, personally. What is really pleasing to Krishna is when we serve his devotees, when we become the servant of the servant. Serve the servants. Naham vipronachana napati napivaisha nashkutva naham varimachakya patyurna vanastriyatya kintu pradamikya paramananda purnamidago purnamidabhya gopi pardukamayo dasadasam dasada, the servant of the servant of the servant. So that is our philosophy. Actually, this is our philosophy. Theoretically, I'm speaking theoretically because I have to myself also learn this and learn to become lower than the straw in the street. Lower than the straw in the street. If you if you step on a straw on the street, a straw on the street, if you step on it and lower than the straw on the street means you stay there. Because the straw it gets up again. But you should not get up again. You should lower than the straw in the street. You should stay there. Once you have learned the lesson, you should stay there. You should remain humble. To be humble. Remain humbled, so to say. And more tolerant than a tree. A tree has to tolerate so many things, and in this way, by showing all respect to others without expecting respect or respect for oneself. That which means one thing: no false ego, not being an ego. But I, how can you do this to me? But I think, and how is it possible? In my opinion, it means that there's no room for this. No, that is what it means. Pretty tough. A serious thing. In this regard, this Krishna consciousness is pretty serious thing. That is what it means. That if you really want it, then this is the attitude. You have to have this attitude. And then, when you have this attitude, then you can constantly, all the time, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All the time. And when we chant all the time, then actually we are fulfilling the prayer of Kuloshekara. Then please let me remember you, even in the difficult time of death. Let me remember you please let me chant, let me somehow remember your holy name, Hare Krishna. Please let me be surrounded by, if I cannot do it by myself, let me be surrounded by devotees who are chanting the holy name. Let my life become successful in this way. Great personalities have shown it. Srila Maharaj Ki, Srila Prabhupada has shown it. And let us pray. Let us pray maybe at least on this important day which will come, Janmashtami, a good day to pray for such a thing. Please let me always remember you, Krishna. Let me be surrounded by your devotees who are glorifying you, because if I cannot glorify you, please let me hear the glorification of your devotees. Please let me always see the devotees, because the form of the devotee is not different from you. This is the prayer. We should repeat prayers. This is one of the prayers. And this is one of the prayers which is a part of one of Krishna's sweetest pastime. When Krishna was bound by Mother Yashoda, and the two demigods came from the trees which Krishna, Chitva, 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he said, because he was also, the tree was mentioned in the purport, tree, and we are meant to cut the tree of the material world, Chitva, which is Urva Mulam, very deep rooted, and we have to cut this tree with the weapon of detachment, and then after cutting this tree of the material world, we have to find that place from which we will never return back to this material world, and there surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who ist der Ursprung ist von allem und von dem alles seit unvergänglichen Zeiten ausgeht, from which everything is coming since time immemorial. This is such a beautiful poetic verse of the Bhagavad Gita. There, in this world from which we never have to come back, we have to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of everything, from whom everything emanates since time immemorial. Wow, what a wonderful description of God, isn't it? From whom everything comes since time immemorial, and who is the source of everything. So of this Lord, we should think of Him, remember Him, glorify Him, and talk about and study through the Vedas, and with eagerness, and talk about and enlighten each other, that maybe you have something to share or would like to comment something on this regard.
That's very nice. That's
I hope, I pray, I wish, I desire we will have some possibility to churn together some nectar of the descriptions of Krishna consciousness which is given by Srila Prabhupada in his books in the next days. This way, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita.
I'm just, remembering those times. It's so nice to hear. Very nice lecture.
You came with Maharaj or no?
No, I came with family. We are on our way to Ahmedabad, so we wanted to visit.
To visit Narasimhadev before?
Yes, yes.
You go to Jamastami too?
Yes,
Really?
yes, yes.
Nice, so that's a good plan.
Yes, so no, it's Krishna's mercy, Lord Krishna's mercy. But we were able to come before somehow. It didn't happen. I see, you have everything online? This is for
Yes.
online audience?
Yeah, this is for YouTube.
Oh, this goes to YouTube directly?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
And we're still hearing you.
Yeah.
You are here leading the Bhakta program or?